Well, it's great to see everybody out there today, fellow space enthusiasts. I'm a space enthusiast myself. It's something I've been interested in for a long time. So thank you for being here. Thank you to the Museum of Flight for organizing this event. It's just a great resource, great opportunity for all of us here in Seattle, first class facilities and so forth. My presentation is the space opportunity. The space opportunity that's here today, that's here right now, November 20th, 2014. It's not the space opportunity in a year or the space opportunity in 5 years or 10 years. So most of the presentations before this were talking about what's far out there. Eric kind of laid out the roadmap, but I'm here to talk about what's happening now and why now is the best time and why Seattle is actually the best place to get started. Eric touched on this briefly, but it has been a tough couple weeks in commercial space. You have the Antares rocket explosion, which Chris Lewicki will speak next, and I'm sure he will touch on in greater detail in terms of what that meant to them and what it will mean to them. The Virgin Galactic accident, loss of life, very difficult situation. Again, Eric said that they're already underway on the second spaceship too, so they aren't slowing down. The Philae lander, I don't know if I'm saying that quite with the right pronunciation, but that was kind of a mixed bag because, you know, they landed on a comet for the first time ever. So it's a huge success, but it didn't quite live up to the expectations that they had hoped because it wasn't returning all the data they wanted. Of course, they found evidence of some organic compounds. So, you know, it's an interesting time. There are challenges, but you might be tempted to say, well, maybe now's not the right time for commercial space. Maybe we ought to wait for, you know, a little more safe environment, different technology. Maybe I should wait on my idea, whatever that might be. But again, I'm here to tell you that you shouldn't wait, that now is the time. So for those of you who don't know what this image is, this is the Challenger breaking up in midair in January of 1986. This is my earliest memory of space. I was in first grade, and I can still remember watching that event live and seeing the reaction in my teacher's face after they had kind of figured out what had happened, and that memory still sticks with me today. In fact, I talked with my first grade teacher not too long ago about this incident. What was interesting over the past few weeks, I started thinking about this picture. This is me. This is actually October of 1986. This is my mom's homemade astronaut costume for me. Thanks, Mom, for that. But I realized, I'm not sure I went through a conscious thought process, but in the same year that the Challenger happened, it didn't deter me. In fact, I was even more excited about the potential of becoming an astronaut when I was in first grade. So at that age, I thought my astronaut dream would be something like this, maybe a ride on the space shuttle. Unfortunately, my adult dream turned into something more like that. So a little bit different kind of dreaming, kind of the literal kind. So one day I was sitting there in my corporate office job and thinking, as I was trying to draw a perfectly straight orange line on a PowerPoint, there probably should be something more to life than this. So it started to dawn on me that you know, I ought to, for my kids' sake, for my community, and for the world, and for myself, I ought to try to do something more with my life. So I was sitting in my boss's office one day, and she said, "What do you want to do with your career?" And at 31, I realized that she was expecting a pretty quick answer, and I realized I didn't have one. So I had to think about what I really wanted to do, and I figured, well, this is my midlife crisis. I better do it right, and I better do it now. So I thought all the way back to that astronaut dream, and I thought, what should I do? Well, what I did was I paid my own way down to ISPCS in New Mexico. And that's, for those of you who don't know, it's another commercial space conference, kind of like this on a bigger scale. You've got all the luminaries, all the big names. I found the head of sales for Virgin Galactic at the time, and I said, I want to get involved. What do I do? And she said, let me see what I can do, and I'll see who I can put you in touch with. The person she put me in touch with was a travel agent up here in the Seattle area. So they could sell tickets on Virgin Galactic. So I figured, what the heck, I'll give it a try. So I tried my hand at that, but unfortunately at $200,000 a ticket, there just isn't much of a market right now. Now, in hindsight, maybe that's a good thing, that I didn't have a lot of success there. But I didn't give up. I expanded my product offerings to other space tourism products. But I still was missing that component of giving back to Seattle, giving back to the community, and being a part of commercial space in an integral way. So I founded Space Entrepreneurs, and that's really why I'm here in front of you today. What is Space Entrepreneurs? Well, we do networking events. This picture is from our August event. We had Eric Anderson, founder of Space Adventures and Planetary Resources, speak in front of a crowd of about 80 people down at Marina Park in Kirkland. Everybody was very excited. Yet we had a really diverse group of people, from high school students all the way up to industry professionals. Some of them are here today. So a really good opportunity to meet people across disciplines, industry people, students, non-industry folks. We have resources. So this is New Space Global. They're an information source for the new space industry. Free trial, through us with them for some of their information to kind of learn more about commercial space. We've got startup consulting, engineering consulting, legal consulting. So anything you might need, if you've got an idea and you don't know how to get it from your mind out onto paper or into reality, it's a good place to start. Speakers, like I mentioned, Eric Anderson, he spoke. Everybody was just blown away. I mean, he's got so much experience. I mean, at 21 years old, in college, he started a space tourism company that's the only one to have sent paying space tourists to space. So really inspiring to listen to. We've got another marquee event coming up in the new year, after the new year. And lastly, partnerships. So Space Angels Network, you'll hear from Joe Landon a little bit later today more about Space Angels, but they are an investor network of individuals in the Seattle area, but also worldwide, and those people invest specifically in space-related businesses. So we partnered with Space Angels on the August event, but where we come in Space Entrepreneurs is we get you ready to have those kinds of funding conversations. So there are existing companies, some of which you've heard here, but there are those people who are in idea stage and maybe early revenue or small team and need to get to that level but aren't ready to take on funding. So we get you ready for that with all of these things. Next, I'd like to get back to, again, why now? I mean, why not wait 5 years? Why not do it next week or after Christmas or after Thanksgiving dinner? I'm encouraging you, after you leave this event, after you leave this speech, go out and do something. Get incorporated, talk to your friends, talk to coworkers, talk to industry experts. Just do something, but do it now. And most of you know this photograph or a variation of, that's Robert Goddard, 1926, shortly before the first successful liquid rocket launch. He was a professor, and if you see some of his other iconic photographs of him writing on a chalkboard, he's got tons of ideas. I mean, he was not short on ideas. The reason why he's up there and we remember him is because he did something different, which was take his idea and work on it until it became a reality. So that's that picture. The picture on the right is the Mercury Redstone that took Alan Shepard, the first American, into space. Now, it could be argued that if Goddard hadn't taken any action on his idea, Alan Shepard might not have made it to space. So I encourage you, take your idea, work on it, refine it until you can make it reality. Seattle, why Seattle? Well, we've already seen the birth or the rebirth of some really, really cool industries, in my opinion. Of course, we've got airplanes. Bill Boeing back in the early 1920s, that's their first airplane, one of their first airplanes right there. Of course, the software industry, some of you probably don't know what that is now that I think about it. That's a floppy disk. Used to be pretty common. Of course, that's the Master Chief, Xbox, Halo, famous character. You guys probably recognize these guys by now. But back then, in 1981, it was hard for some people to take them seriously, whether it was by appearance or because of these funding machines that they're standing around, that they were trying to tell everybody that you would want one in your home and on your desk, But there was companies like IBM saying, why would somebody want a computer in their house? So even if your idea seems kind of far out or hard to imagine, like Eric said, it's hard to imagine what's going to happen. We all know how this story turned out, but back then it wasn't so obvious. This is one of my favorite stories about early industry here in Seattle. This is Minoru Arakawa, the first president of Nintendo America. He came over, started a little office in New York, moved it to Seattle, and anybody know what this cabinet is here? Does that look familiar? This is Radar Scope. It was a really popular game in Japan that Nintendo imported into America. In fact, they were so confident that it would be successful, they ordered 3,000 cabinets. Well, popularity quickly faded, and it turns out they couldn't really sell any of them. So Nintendo and Mr. Arakawa were faced with the decision point to either try to sell those cabinets or pack up and leave and forget the American market altogether. So Christmas time, in 1981, they decided to convert all 3,000 cabinets, Radarscope cabinets, to Donkey Kong cabinets. And it turned out that Donkey Kong was pretty popular, and they sold all of them, cementing their place in Seattle in the video game industry and rebirthing the video game industry from what had happened with Atari. So there are always challenges in industries, but with visionary thinking and persistence, great stuff can happen, like the Nintendo Entertainment System, which really launched a revolution in personal video games. We've got big backers. Eric mentioned some of them. Mr. Simone, he'll speak on Saturday. I think he's the ending keynote. He's the only private citizen to have been to space twice, spending between 20 and 40 million of his own money. It's all relative, but that's still a lot of money. Mr. Allen and Stratolaunch, headquartered in Alabama, but he also funded the X Prize development of Spaceship One. So Jeff Bezos, we heard the ULA agreement to build engines. They've clearly got other ambitions going on. They wouldn't tell Eric, they certainly won't tell me, but we can imagine what they might be doing. So big names, big money, serious interest right here in Seattle. And of course, the cluster. You'll hear from Mr. Lewicki from Planetary Resources. I see Caitlin in the audience there. They are incredible thought leaders, very interesting business model, and I think probably going to be the leaders in the first trillion-dollar industry, in the United States and beyond. You heard from Aerojet Rocketdyne. There's Blue Origin, Laser Motive. I mean, they want to use laser power to power satellites and other craft in space. So interesting concepts, Tethers Unlimited, Jason Anders of Anders Space. You just have a strong culture of innovative private companies that go well beyond what NASA has done and is doing, but a great complement at the same time. You've got the infrastructure. We talked about Space Angels. You've got the UW, their Aerospace and Astrospace department. They're having an event tomorrow night. I think it's 5:30, where their students will be kind of showcasing. So whether you're a student or a professional, you've got the core organizations to help you with your idea, to get it moving, research, networking, and financing. And lastly, the talent pool. Again, the UW. The Microsoft ecosystem, it's huge. The Amazon ecosystem, the entire IT software side, Boeing on the hardware side, and its suppliers. I think that it's no coincidence that SpaceX is going to open an office up in Bellevue here in the near future. In fact, you can go to the website and see their job postings right now. So the core is there to build this community. You have the talent, you've got the infrastructure. So from that standpoint, I encourage you, if you've got an idea, just get to work on it now. It's being built underneath you. A rising tide will lift all boats. So definitely time to move forward. Lastly, in conclusion of what I just talked about, kind of talked about some reasons why now and why Seattle, but I didn't want to leave you hanging. I wanted to give you just a basic roadmap to move forward, and we all know Elon. We've heard about him already today a couple times. What I wanted to say about what he's done in the roadmap that he's laid out, that I'm kind of calling the Musk model, is when I was down at the New Space Conference earlier this summer, Steve Jurvetson of Draper Fisher Jurvetson, a big venture capital firm in the Bay Area who has invested with Elon both in SpaceX and Tesla, said that what's unique about Elon is he was able to take his long-term, some would say crazy, if not controversial, vision, which is to colonize Mars and for him to retire on Mars. not let it go, and not go into an investment meeting saying, this is what I want to do, therefore get laughed out of the meeting. He's able to preserve that long-term vision, but in the meantime, he's got a way to pay the bills and revolutionize an existing industry, meaning the launch industry, by lowering the cost of launch by an order of magnitude. So it's a simple model, but I would encourage you, even if your idea is somewhat far out, space is far out by nature. It's dangerous, it's risky, it's vast, but if you've got a far out idea, keep that idea in place. Instead of listening to what other people tell you about it, find a way to build that bridge to get you to that idea, like Elon has done. So in conclusion, this is my dream. I'm still living my dream. You guys hopefully share the same dream, and I look forward to being able to share our dreams, to work together here in Seattle, to build this community up, and see what we can do. The future's wide open. I would love to meet with each and every one of you and hear what your ideas, hear more about what your ideas are, and share with you kind of what I'm doing and how I think I can help, just to meet you. So I'll be around. I'll have a booth for Space Entrepreneurs the rest of the show, so feel free to stop by and say hello. Also, if you'd like to check out Space Entrepreneurs, membership is free right now, so you can just go online to the meetup site and just search Space Entrepreneurs. It's free. Our next meeting, monthly meeting is Thursday, December 11th at 5 p.m. Wild Rover in Kirkland. We get together, we bounce ideas off each other. It can be whatever you want it to be. Networking, accountability, kind of proving out an idea, whatever you want, you can turn it into. So thank you for listening. I appreciate your time, and I'll be happy to take any questions now or later. Thanks.